Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how much I've spent in flying up to date. Everything from all the way from ground school to now, which is today, beginning of February the 4th, as I'm recording. I actually had a flight today and I will have one tomorrow. So this is, my Excel file is only getting bigger with time. I do apologize that I took a little while for the video to come out. I did record it back in December, but I did not like how it turned out. And that was right before I was moving back to Florida from Seattle. So a lot of stuff happened between sister wedding, family was here during Christmas. I just wanted to enjoy the moment, not really think about anything. And then when this year started, I get back into this. I also started flying the other day. This is my third flight back. And I started flying in the right seat. I'm still in commercial. So I decided to do that and I'll talk about it later. But I also want to say I do have a sponsor today. So wee sponsor, but don't worry about it. It's not like a big company. I'm not sponsoring NordVPN, even though I do use them. No sponsorship. But it is something from my own. I am an entrepreneur now, or I have to be. I have no other option. And so I'll be doing an ad and we'll be talking about it midway through the video. But the first half of the video is going to be my Excel file. I will be screen sharing my MacBook. And then the second half, I want to show you kind of the websites of different flight schools, how they look, how kind of the dynamic or the schematic they have, and just go through it. This is not to talk bad about any flight school or anything. I just wanted to show you what you're kind of getting into before you jump in and decide where you're going to go. But I will show you everything that I spent, and I'm going to be very open about everything. So I hope you enjoy that. I'm a very open person. I just want to help. That's all I want to do. I want to help people, give them knowledgeable information before they get into something that might be overbearing. So let's get started. So we're starting off with my private. I kind of have it divided up between cost of private, then commercial, flight log and sheet, or something else. Just me playing around with numbers. But I just want to state that I did start flying in March of 2023. And as you see here, I kind of have it all the way at the bottom. It took me about a year to get my private, mostly because of weather. I did take a break. If you see here, I went from April, then June. You see that big jump? And from here, August, September, I flew as much as I could. Tried to keep proficiency, but weather wasn't really helping me. As a reminder, I was in Seattle. So by October, you're gonna start seeing a dip. So I flew a lot in August, and September. You see that dip right here because weather was not that great. Then October, and then very little in November. Jumps here and there, and then nothing until March, kind of, when I had my check ride. So when you start flying, you have to get a lot of things. So first, try to get your rent out of the way, right? And if you're paying for a ground, thankfully my job paid for the ground, so I didn't have to deal with that, but that would have cost $500. And then if you would have done it with, let's say, King School, it's gonna cost you even more. We can actually show that later to kind of jump into that on the second half, but you'll see everything I spent. So I hope you can see my mouse. So flight, school costs, ground, private, all that. So my medical, I decided to get a third. A lot of people are gonna tell you get a first medical. Does it really matter? No, because chances are you're not gonna be able to use your first medical, especially as if you're doing everything as soon as possible. It might take you a few years before you get to ATP level. So it's kind of a waste. And if they tell you, well, it's just see if you can qualify for a first class. If you can qualify for a third class, it's not gonna be as much restriction. Hard to get a first class. It will be a little bit more, rigorous. But the thing about it, the most important part is you get a medical, because if something were to happen to you, right? Let me give you an example. If you get diabetes, maybe a heart attack or something, you can probably qualify for the other one, basic med. So the most important thing is you just get a medical. But anyway, that's besides the point. That's the debate for another day. For flight, $100, but because my job, there's a discount. They own ForeFlight, so I think it was a 25% off. So I get a discount every single time. TSA badge, that has to do with where I was flying. I was flying in Everett, Washington. So we had to get a badge anytime so we can walk into the facility. and it's a big airport area. And every year that renews, so you're gonna see it again one more time. And then the FAA written, 175. That's how much it costs. I think it's still the same price. I'm not sure. That was back in 2023. Then now headphones. You can go with regular headphones. I think they call it David Clark's. Dick Clark's. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm mixing two things together. But you can get noise cancellation for $100 on Amazon. I mean, non-noise cancellation for $100 on Amazon. But we're here to protect your hearing. And plus, after you start using noise cancellation headphones, you're not going to want to go back. So I decided, it took me a long time to figure this out, but I chose the Zulu 3s. I kind of regret getting them for multiple reasons. I can talk about that in another video. I can show you my flight bag too, show you everything I have on me. That's a whole nother video we can do. But it cost me $830, but that was with discount. I ended up getting an Amazon Chase card, which gave me I think like $150 credit or something like that, and I used it for that. So I got that discounted from like almost $1,000. And then I got a knee board, and that's so I can write for the ADAs and any other information. I still use it to this day, but I think when I transfer to a CFI, I'm not going to be using that anymore as long. And I'm going to buy myself Apple Pencil or some sort of Apple Pencil so I can just take notes on my iPad. And then initial and monthly. So I went into a flight club, so I had to pay initial and monthly dues. You can think of these as your insurance, your renter's insurance, kind of similar for us. And so I had to pay, and that's why my aircraft was cheaper than most places at the time. But now it's kind of not worth going to that flight club. But that's another story. And my bag, I decided to buy a bag that's customized with the 172 aircraft on it, just a little like a silhouette, and a little phrase I put on for myself. And then return. So thankfully at my job, I was able to get a return, which was $10,000, $7,000 after taxes. And then test written. So I messed up and I forgot to reschedule. So if you want to reschedule your written test, I think it's 48 hours out. I completely forgot I was on vacation and I didn't reschedule, so I had to pay for my test again. I fumbled on that one, 100%. Other one was the foggle glasses, $20, get on Amazon. Try to get the sleek ones, don't get the other ones that's gonna cover. I don't like those at all. And save them, because I've lost them like 2 or 3 times and then rebuy. It's annoying. And then here were my monthly dues I had to pay. Again, this is because I was in a flight school. This could be different for you. Again, think of this as your insurance. Maybe it's half of that or a quarter of that, a fraction of it. And in total, after everything, before I forget, I recommend you, when you're going to do your check writing, your stage check, take maps, physical maps, sectional maps. Don't use your iPad, because you don't want a DPE that's gonna look at you and assume that you depend on your iPad a lot, because you want to learn how to fly as a private pilot. Really learn your area, learn how to fly visually. Then when you get to IFR, commercial and so on, they're not gonna really care as much. So make sure you take a map. It cost me about $20. Then my check ride, it cost me $949 with everything, rental and the DPE. That is extremely cheap compared to now, and I'll show you in a second how much it cost me to get my instrument. So anyway, you already saw some of the things I have here, and on the other one, in the flight commercial instrument, there's more that I will show you. But as you see here, on average, if you see, I'm trying to cost plane. I don't know why I have it like this, but for some reason I had it like that. I think the receipts, so let me tell you, from that flight school I was in, that flight club, their accounting was bad. So people were missing receipts, people were missing this. It was really annoying. It was really hard for me to keep track. So I had to really use my logbook and my Venmo receipts to really get this Excel file. But trust me, it's accurate. Just some of this total aircraft and stuff like that are kind of off. But in total, if you see here, the total cost of aircraft, so that's basically how much it cost me to rent it on the receipt. this is what it cost me after whatever the base price times the hops, tack, or whatever. And my instructor, I was lucky that I was able to get cheap instructors. First it was 60, then I switched to another one. It was $70, and then down here, my solo time, put them in a different color just so I can keep track of what type of times I'm using. And then my night flight, my solo cross country times. You see, I did 3. I actually did one extra one because I think I was off or I was just bored. Yeah, besides the story. Doesn't matter, it adds up at the end of the day. Some more solo time, no takeoff, not include, LOG, not sure what that is. Face check. My last face check, my stage check right before my check ride. Thankfully, the guy only charged me, how much was it? $210. That's really cheap, and he was there for like 5 hours. And lastly, the DPE only charged me $750. In the aircraft, after everything was said and done, it was almost $200. That is not bad. Under $1,000 for a check ride is a great price to beat. But actually, I heard that about a few months later, I had a friend that took her for his check ride, and she went up by like $100, almost $200. So prices are going up. Just acknowledge that, and you'll see it actually in my instrument Excel file part. So now this is different. This is instrument. I kind of have it all together in this one because after you finish private, it kind of all clumbles together. So, I forgot to show you. So after everything is said is done, the flying portion cost me $19,398. Most places are gonna tell you it's gonna cost you $15,000. Push it up, give it another 2 to 3K. And if you're more proficient, then that's how much it's gonna cost you. And weather too. Weather plays a big part. So it might cost you, I say 17 to 18K. And then with everything else that's included with my monthly and my all my certs and all that, my medical certs and for flight, cost me $24,000. Thankfully, I had my incentive that brought it down to $17,000. So thank God. Moving on. So for a commercial instrument, it has cost me $65,000 right now. Kind of split into both. Commercial is gonna cost me a little bit more by the end because I have my state. I gotta do a state check and I do a check ride. So this might be about $25,000 after everything's said and done. 25, 26. We'll come back and see that later. Doing probably another video to give you an update later on. And then instrument, $24,000. I definitely could have done it a lot cheaper. Don't get me wrong. I kind of messed up on that part, but it is what it is. I'm not mad. We're not gonna talk about it. But other side, same thing. TSA for the badge so I can get into the airport. That was in Everett. I already moved, so I'm getting rid of that. No more of that. King School Instrument, $273. Awesome. That's what got me my endorsement so I can go take the test. I recommend Shepherd Air. They're not sponsored by me, but I've used them for instrument, commercial, CFI, and double I. So recommend them all the way. They're about $45, $50 for every test. If you buy a few at the same time that are like in the same blocks, we'll show them in on the second half of the video. And you can get discounted too if you're buying 2 or 3. And then check ride cost me $900, and I think that was just how much I paid to the DPE. I did buy an iPad, $854, but my sister works at Apple, so I do get a discount, and I bought 250 gigabytes. I recommend that so much. I have almost half of the United States downloaded on my iPad. Highly recommend, so you don't have to be on Wi-Fi at all times. But the 250 is great. Next time I will probably get the cellular. I don't know, that's just my personal choice. I'll probably put it on cellular, but that's just me. If you want to save money, you can get the 60 or 65, but it's not really worth it. The new iPad is actually 250 base, I think, so we're good with that. I did get a Sentry Plus, especially here in Florida. You do need ADS-B out so you can see where everybody's at, see all the traffic. I did get the Plus. Could have got the medium, which would have probably the middle platform, which would have saved me like $200. But I decided, what the heck, get the Plus. the battery lasts like 18-20 hours. I'm very bad at charging, so that helps me a lot. Then the ForeFlight, same thing. I did get an upgraded ForeFlight, which somehow I still got a good discount, where I got the second tier, not the first tier, second tier, so you can actually put the maps, your approach plate maps, on the ForeFlight, so you can still see traffic and you don't have them separated. April due, that was my last month I was with that flight club. And then written test 170, 175, ground commercial 209. By the way, these are the ground school, all the ground stuff are from King School. Decided to go with them, no regrets, been nothing but good. And I usually get them discounted. I always look for the sale, never buy them full price, but highly recommend them, not sponsored. Shepherd Air, again, for commercial, $50, that's the one I was telling you about. And then we're in commercial, 175. Rents double line. If you're gonna do your instrument, take double I immediately. If you can do commercial, just do CFI immediately. You do not need endorsements for them. I should have done the CFI RIN immediately right after commercial, but it is what it is. I'm in that situation, whatever. CFI ground, FII, I feel like it's kind of a waste of money, but at the same time, they do give you a lot more information than the commercial. You do not need an endorsement for your CFI instructor, FAI, but you do need it for your FOI, which is instructors of instruction. I forgot what it's called. The FOI. I don't know why I'm blacking out right now. And then I do have to pay for insurance, $28, and then when it came back, it doubled in price, so it's almost $60. And again, Shepherd Air, FOI, FAI. You don't need the endorsement again for FAI. You do need it for FOI, but you do need to pass these writtens, both of them. And you need an endorsement for FOI. And then BEFA, that's the thing. They messed up on accounting, and I owe $200. Kind of annoying. $240. The $200 was that I decided to take a break from that flight club. It's called BEFA. So take a break from that flight club, and all I had to do was pay $25. And I paid $25 for 8 months, kind of to be on hold. But I ended up not going back, so I kind of wasted $200. Again, you make a plan. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, then you took the risk, you move on. That's kind of what I'm learning, now that I'm becoming more of an entrepreneur. And, sometimes you make a plan, you take risks. It is what it is. It doesn't work out. But anyway, coming down to instrument. So I did a lot of instrument time. So the first half was just me building up cross country. And then all these were a mix of both cross country and just practicing approaches and practicing holds. One thing I do say is that I did too much dual time. I feel that I could have done less dual time and look for someone to help me out, be my safety pilot, which would have cost me at least like $2-3 grand. Again, you live and you learn, right? And at the very end, these are all practice, making sure that I stay proficient and ready for my check ride. And in between my instrument, I decided to start the commercial. So I started building up time. Honestly, this was a waste of time. Hindsight. At the moment, it didn't look like a waste of time. But if you see here, August, September, October, and then out of nowhere, I stopped. October, November. Last time that I flew last year was November. And I took a break because I had to go back to Seattle. I still had a month left, but weather was so bad that my instructor we were talking and we were like, well, we're kind of rushing it. If we really want to get you done before you leave, it's going to be difficult and we might be pushing it. What about we fail, right? Then you're going to have to spend more money and blah, blah, blah. And then again, if let's say you failed a week before you have to leave, then you lost all that money because are you going to be able to get an appointment for the week after? Probably not. What about weather, so on? So we decided to I made a decision. I said, no, I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to keep spending my money and I'll use it for next year. So that's kind of how much I spent up to now for all my flying. So a lot of ways to do this is pay it off yourself, maybe a credit card or take a loan out. I've heard the loans are about 10 to 12%, so it's kind of hard. It's kind of difficult. It's double the price of a car loan. So no, if you're paying, maybe $100, $200 a month on just interest. Wait, am I wrong? If you're paying like at least $50 of interest a month, it might double to like 100. I would say if you could try to get scholarships, if you're privileged, maybe because of work or family or something like that, try to get it paid it off if you can. Again, I can only speak from my experience because I was blessed to be able to pay it off, all this off up to right now with my job. But again, I had to make a lot of sacrifices so I could be in that position. I was living with roommates. I never lived alone. I haven't bought a car since I was in college. The same car I have back then, the same car I still have now is paid off. So those are sacrifices you have to make so you can be able to, I don't want to say afford this, but sacrificing from there to sacrificing this. Because it ends up cheaper doing this way, if you can, out of pocket, if you can, again, because you save money on interest. It's there's a phrase called you become slave to the lender, and that's not what we want. We don't promote that here. We want freedom and get away from all that. So today's advertisement is actually myself. Two businesses I want to promote. First one's Creative Financial Services. If you're looking to get your 2024 taxes done, come with us. Don't go to the big guys. There's so much money you're leaving on the table. They don't ask you questions the same way we do. We have so many ways to get you deductions and help you out the best we can. Big guys don't care. They're working on an hourly salary, so it's not their job. Their job is just to get it done as soon as possible. We ask you questions. We want to sit down with you, get everything, all the information, so we can make the best judgment and get you the most amount return at the end of the day. So come with us for Creative Financial Services. Instagram's right here. You can text me on my phone number on here. You're not going to regret it. Second business is Lice Lady. So this one is actually strange, but locally here in Orlando, we have an epidemic in Florida or in the South where a lot of people have lice. This affects children, babies, adults, elderly. And so if you're in need of any lice removal services, come text me. Come call me. We are a small business. My mother's been doing this for the last 15 years. She's great at it. A lot of people love her, and we feel it's just time for her to expand and go on her own. And there's nothing wrong with that. We love it. I've been helping her out. So if you think that that's you, or you know anybody, a school, family member, friend, anybody, don't be embarrassed. Reach out to us. They're very hard to remove on your own. So sometimes you need help with great prices compared to the competitor. So reach out. So now in the second half, we're gonna look at flight schools. So I'm gonna go with my flight club that I was in and their prices. This is updated from this year, 2025, and you see how much it costs to fly with basically the typical flight school. So if you see here, these are up to date rates, kind of lagging. But I flew a lot of the 172s. This is 172 Novembers, which is kind of the most popular model, at least in that flight club. I've heard that the Novembers and the Mikes are the most popular, but again, I'm more familiar with the Novembers. They're kind of all the same. The only difference might be that there's a fuel pump. It's not gravity driven, and then very small things. Maybe the flaps you have to you can retract them at a higher speed, from what I remember, and so on. So it costs $172 per hour for the 172. For the Papa, a little bit more advanced, a little bit more modern. You can see a little bit less, not as old. 177. If you want to see the newer models, 2002, costing you 190. I say most aircrafts now are about 170 to 190. 200 is kind of pushing on the end, but if you see here, there are 200, 170 Alpha, and then 182 Cessna. I think this is a little bit more advanced. Remember, your aircraft will be dependent on the equipment it has, the age, and the engine, the horsepower, because it spends more on gas and stuff. This is kind of the rough price of aircrafts right now. So let's see other flight schools. We're gonna go back to this. And the most notorious one is ATP. And again, I'm not here to talk bad about them. I'm not here to talk about anybody. I'm just showing you presenting you their website of different flight schools. There's so many more, but this is kind of the most ones that I've looked at. So if you want to be an airline career pilot, they do have a program where it takes you from 0 to something, and it shows kind of all the people that they've been able to graduate. ATP, again, I'm not associated with them. I don't know anything about them. Never been to one. But because it's the biggest flight school and a lot of people go to them, they are gonna have the most newest aircrafts, so that is a plus. So you're not gonna have a lot of squawks and stuff, or should it be? And if you see here, Florida alone, there is 9, Texas 12, and there's actually some in Washington. I don't know why they're not showing this, but they have so many locations if that's something you want to join. But then let's go to pricing. It's saying that it's going to cost you $117,000. I always, whatever price they give you, I always add another 10% to that. So maybe 10 to 20%. So that is what? Almost $2,000 more? 2 or 3 grand? Yeah, I would say that. Because it all depends on to you. Let's click this. Let's see where it takes us. So it really depends on to you how much you already know, how efficient you are. I've seen people that actually fly a lot on Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and when they come into flying, they pick up a lot of stuff, right? It's not the same and completely the same compared to the real life, because the reaction, right? Turbulence and stuff like that, you're not gonna feel it in the Flight Simulator, or Microsoft Flight Simulator, compared to real life. So there will be different things, but in actuality, I've seen people be able to transition properly. So if you have that, if you already have a PC, you have the equipment, I say go for it. Get on there, practice, and then you'll learn how to actually fly, and so it'll be cheaper for you. You'll be more on point with the minimums, and not go overboard and spend a lot of money. So again, it's telling you it's gonna be almost $200,000. $117,000. It even shows you credit for solo, credit for private, something to think about. But it's funny because this is the only flight school I've seen that actually shows you how much it might cost you. If you go to like L3, that's another big flight school here. I really couldn't figure it out. I'm trying to understand this, but it's saying 85,000. And then you add on some other stuff, from my understanding. I'm not really sure, but again, it looks like misleading to some sense, because I'm not really understanding. If you don't know, if you are inexperienced in the aviation side and you don't understand, right? This is the first thing you're gonna see. Oh, it's only costing me 85,000, but then ATP is costing me almost 117,000. You're gonna go with L3. Why wouldn't you, right? It only makes sense. But again, it's all in you, right? It's all about what you can get through, how fast you can get through, and even them, right? Because if your instructor is more hour driven, just want to build up time, they might screw you over. Hopefully they have some type of policies or regulations internal to the flight school, so they can stop any abuse of that. But again, $85,000. But then I see another flight school. This one I couldn't. This is local too. This is called Academy of Aviation. I don't know why I'm saying it wrong. I could not find for the love of me how much it costs. All I could find is contact me. Enroll now. Enjoy an amazing February offer. Get an extra 8 hours of multi-annual time worth $5,000 basically. If you come up here, so again, it's kind of misleading when you're not given how much something costs on the website, right? Kind of what are you hiding? Are your prices lower than most places, and you're trying to keep it like that so they don't, so they don't screw you over and say, well, we can give you a better price or something. I don't know. So you be more competitive, or they haven't put their numbers up so they can stay in the low, stay in the background, and not show that, hey, our price is more than other places. But then let me show you one other place. This is a Snohomish Flying Services. This is back in Washington. This is one of the actually flight schools I was thinking of going to. And again, these are the aircrafts. Where are the prices at? Where are the prices? Where are the prices? Where are the prices? Where are the prices? Where are these prices at? I don't see any prices. And that really annoys me because I want prices. But again, you can't control what they do. Here's another thing. Simulators usually cost like $50 per hour, I think. $25 to $50 per hour. So try to do those if you can. And that'll help you with so much money. But then I decided to keep looking and okay, courses. So let's go to private. So okay, flight instruction, 20 to 15, ground, all that, and so on. Oh, I still don't see prices. Maybe I didn't say this earlier. I forgot to mention this earlier, but you have to count ground, right? Because when you fly, you're paying the flight and you're paying for the instructor. You also have to pay the instructor for after the flight, because sometimes there's more ground where you got to talk about how the flight was, kind of a debrief, or maybe they have to teach you something, which could be 30 minutes to an hour, or maybe there's other grounds that you have to do where you're getting ready for the check ride. That's a few hours, at least 3 or 4 hours, and that's gonna cost you, and they don't tell you that. But it's kind of the practice TFIs do, because they want to make sure that you're ready on the ground portion and the flying portion before they send you off for a check ride. I wouldn't sign anybody off without knowing that they knew what the heck they're talking about before a check ride, and they have all the knowledge, because I don't want you going in and the first thing they ask you is something dumb, like for instance, can you fly a multi-engine being a private? And then you're like, yeah, I can. When in reality, you need a type rating and so on. So that's just something to really think about. I've known people that have failed their instrument. Sorry, bring that back. I've known people that actually failed their ground portion of their check ride. So it is possible. You have to be prepared, right? And then on top of this, I think you already know this, but you usually go from private to commercial instrument, building up time. That helps you with commercial, which then your CFI, and then double I. If you do that, get your multi-engine, and then you get your maybe MEI, which is the multi-engine instructor. You get your CF double I, and lastly your ATP, of course, right? So that's kind of the scheme, the flow we do it. You can get a multi-engine before you get commercial, you can, but I've heard that it costs more, just like the way you do it, because you're gonna have to do a single engine. You have to do a single engine test, and then you got to do a multi-engine test. I could be wrong about that, but from what I read, that's kind of how you go. So it's better to just do your commercial, and then you do your multi after, because then your multi is going to be a lot quicker than your single. But anyway, that's besides the point. I hope this has helped so much. If you have any questions, put comments below. I do have a lot more tips of how to save money. Oh, I almost forgot. Here's one of the tips actually. When you start your commercial, right seat. Get into the right seat. If your goal is to be an instructor, start on the right seat immediately when you start commercial. Get proficient in that. It will take you a few hours to really understand how to fly in the right seat. It's not something crazy like nuclear physics or something. But the differences are there. You will be off even in your landings. You're gonna be more to the right or more to the left, because you're used to one view of how to do things. But then when you start doing it, you're like, oh, I have to be more conscious about I'm doing everything on the right seat, so everything shifted a little bit. But I actually got to ride. This is my third time doing right seat, and I did all my commercial maneuvers on the left seat when I was practicing initially. And I went out the other day, flew, and it was actually good coming back, getting everything just off by a little bit, maybe a little more rudder, focus on that, make sure you're looking outside. And then I transitioned to right seat today with my instructor, and honestly, he was so surprised. I was surprised too, because we did the chandelles, we did lazy, did we do lazy eights? No, we didn't do lazy eights today, but we did chandelles, we did steep turns, we did slow flight, we did stalls, power on, power off, accelerated, we did pylons, we did landings, and they were on point. Don't ask me how the heck, again, that's practice in reality, but how the heck I did everything on the left seat, and then when I transitioned it was just seamless. I don't know. That is a blessing that I was not expecting today. So I got a small win. With everything going on today, I needed a win. So that's all I gotta say. Thank you very much, and have a great week. Positive energy, everyone. Peace.